The sky above the Dragon Emperor's palace glowed with gold and crimson light as the sun dipped behind the jagged mountains. Far below, human and alien travelers hurried across the planet's surface, bringing gifts, treasures, and inventions from across the galaxy. They hoped to win the favor of the Dragon Emperor, a being of immense power and unmatched wisdom, whose very gaze could command the winds and tides. For centuries, the Emperor had ruled the skies and lands with unmatched authority. His scales shimmered like molten metal, reflecting the brilliance of distant suns. His wings stretched wider than the tallest towers, and his voice could shake mountains. Despite the countless gifts offered to him, from jewels and rare minerals to advanced machines and alien inventions, he had rejected every single one, every gift, without exception. The Emperor did not reject gifts out of cruelty. He simply believed that no wealth, machine, or precious object could capture the essence of true value. Many civilizations had tried to impress him, thinking that grandeur and rarity would gain his favor. They were wrong, and the longer he rejected their offerings, the more they feared him, yet admired his wisdom. On a dusty, distant mining planet far from the Emperor's palace, a young human boy named Eli scavenged among the ruins of old settlements. He was an orphan, alone since he could remember, surviving on whatever he could find. His home was a small, broken-down shelter made of scrap metal, with a roof that leaked when it rained and walls patched with old space fabric. Yet, despite his struggles, Eli's heart remained full of curiosity and hope. Eli had never seen the Dragon Emperor in person, but he had heard stories from traders and travelers who passed through the mining camps. They said the Emperor's eyes could see the truth in one's heart, and his judgment was final. Eli often imagined what it would be like to meet such a creature. Not to fear him, but to see the majesty and wisdom that everyone spoke of. One evening, while sifting through a pile of scrap, Eli overheard a conversation between two traders who had come from the central planets. "The Emperor is visiting again," one said, his voice nervous. "All civilizations are sending their gifts. Some are bringing jewels, some weapons, some rare machines. No one expects him to accept anything, though. He never does." The other trader shrugged. "Maybe this time will be different. I heard humans are trying too." "If one of us could make him notice, imagine the honor." Eli's heart beat faster. Humans had tried and failed, yet the idea of bringing a gift to the Emperor sparked something inside him. He had no jewels, no rare metals, no machines, nothing that could compete with the treasures of the galaxy. But he did have something no one else could give: his creativity, his heart, and a simple set of colored pencils and paper he had found among the ruins. That night, under the dim light of a flickering lamp, Eli began to draw. He drew the Emperor soaring above mountains, wings spread wide. He drew the stars and planets as they might look from the dragon's eyes. He drew scenes of life on his home planet, showing both the struggles and the beauty he had witnessed. Each stroke of the pencil was filled with hope and gratitude, as if his drawings could speak the words he could not say. Eli knew that his gift might seem foolish to others. Traders laughed at children who tried to compete with jewels and machines. But Eli did not care. He wanted the Emperor to know that someone, somewhere, appreciated the balance and wisdom he brought to the galaxy. The Emperor might never accept the gift, but even trying made Eli feel alive, full of purpose. For days he prepared. He carefully folded the paper, making sure it was neat. He practiced what he would say. He imagined standing before the Emperor, holding out the card with trembling hands, and saying simply, "Thank you." The journey to the central planet was not easy. Eli repaired a small old spaceship he had found among the scrapyards, patching the engine with bits of metal and wire scavenged from other ships. The vessel was tiny and fragile, far smaller than the freighters and traders' ships he had seen, but it was his only option. As he lifted off from the mining planet, Eli felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The stars stretched out before him, vast and endless. He knew he was tiny in the universe, but for the first time, he felt that his actions mattered. Every brushstroke, every line on the card, every risk he took now had purpose. The journey was perilous. Meteor showers tore across his path, forcing him to dive and twist through narrow gaps. Rogue asteroids threatened to crush his ship. Ion storms crackled with electricity, rattling the fragile frame. Many times he wished he had given up, but he remembered the Emperor and the card he carried. Courage, Eli realized, was not the absence of fear. It was acting despite it. Along the way, Eli encountered other travelers. Some were traders carrying extravagant gifts. Some were explorers and adventurers. One group of human traders laughed when they saw his card. "Do you really think a dragon will care about a drawing?" one asked. "He doesn't care about gold or machines, and you expect him to care about paper?" Eli did not answer. He only smiled faintly and continued drawing in secret during the long hours of travel. Each line reminded him of why he was doing this. Not for wealth, not for recognition, but for something deeper. Gratitude, kindness, and courage. During a stop on a small rocky moon, Eli witnessed a small act of bravery that strengthened his resolve. A trader's ship had been damaged by an unexpected storm, and Eli used his quick thinking and simple tools to help repair it. The grateful trader offered him a reward, but Eli politely declined. "I have my gift," he said, holding the folded card close. "That is enough." As the central planet grew closer in the viewport of his ship, Eli felt a mix of awe and nervousness. From orbit, he could see the enormous palace of the Dragon Emperor floating above the clouds like a fortress of crystal and gold. Ships of all shapes and sizes surrounded it, each carrying treasures from distant worlds. Eli's small ship looked insignificant among them, but he reminded himself of the strength in simplicity. He had no wealth, no power, no machine. What he had was his heart and his sincerity. And sometimes, he thought, that might be enough. The landing was tense. Guards, massive and intimidating, checked every ship. Eli's small craft almost went unnoticed, which was exactly what he wanted. He walked through the grand gates, feeling dwarfed by the scale of the palace and the magnificent architecture. Towers of gold spiraled into the sky, bridges of crystal connected floating platforms, and waterfalls of light cascaded from the clouds above. Creatures from every corner of the galaxy crowded the courtyard, holding their gifts with pride. The air was thick with anticipation, whispers of hope and fear mingling like wind and fire. Eli clutched his card tighter, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. He knew that most gifts here were grand, expensive, and impossible to compete with. But he also knew that the Emperor had rejected every treasure, every machine, every jewel, and every invention that came before. Perhaps, just perhaps, a gift that came from the heart, a simple, honest expression of gratitude, might be the first the Emperor would truly see. As Eli stepped forward into the Emperor's court, he could feel the eyes of the crowd on him. The weight of expectation, doubt, and curiosity pressed down on his small shoulders. But he did not falter. With quiet determination, he reminded himself of the simple truth that had carried him across the stars. Sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest meaning. And for Eli, this small hand-drawn card was more than paper and color. It was hope, courage, a piece of humanity reaching out to a being more powerful than the galaxy itself. Eli's small spaceship floated through the starry expanse, moving steadily toward the central planet where the Dragon Emperor awaited. The stars shimmered like diamonds on black velvet, stretching farther than Eli could ever imagine. Though he had traveled before in bits and pieces, this journey felt different. It was not about survival alone. It was about purpose. The card he carried was not just paper. It was hope, kindness, and courage rolled into one small bundle. The first challenge appeared sooner than Eli expected. A meteor shower, swift and merciless, cut across his path. Rocks the size of houses streaked past, burning and glowing as they entered the planet's atmosphere. Eli gripped the controls tightly, sweat trickling down his brow. "Steady," he whispered to himself. "I can do this." With careful calculation, he maneuvered through narrow gaps, the ship shuddering with every near miss. A particularly large rock slammed close enough to rattle his hull, and Eli ducked instinctively. His heart pounded. But he refused to panic. Each movement had to be precise. Each second mattered. After what felt like hours, the meteor shower ended, leaving Eli breathless but unhurt. His small ship bore scratches and dents, yet it had survived. He took a moment to look out the viewport, seeing the vastness of space spread around him. For the first time, he realized how fragile life was, and how strong he could be when he refused to give up. The next leg of the journey took him near a field of rogue asteroids. Unlike meteors, these asteroids drifted slowly but unpredictably, forming a maze of rock that could crush any careless traveler. Eli studied the patterns, mapping out the safest route. He remembered his father's old words, stories he had read long ago. When the path is unclear, trust your mind and your heart will follow. Using a combination of careful observation and instinct, he guided his ship with small, precise movements. One wrong turn could send him spiraling into a mass of tumbling rocks. At one point, an asteroid clipped his left wing, sending a shower of sparks across the cockpit. Eli held his breath as the ship stabilized, amazed it had survived. He realized that ingenuity, even more than strength, was humanity's greatest tool. Eli's journey was not only about avoiding danger. On a small, barren planet, he discovered a group of traders trapped by a collapsing bridge. Their freighter hovered helplessly above a chasm, unable to land. Eli, using his small but clever tools, rigged a pulley system from spare cables he carried. Step by step, he managed to help the traders lower their ship safely. "You are brave for one so small," said the head trader, astonished. "Why risk your life for us?" Eli smiled faintly, patting the card in his pocket. "I am not brave," he said simply. "I am just trying to do what feels right." The traders, impressed and grateful, offered Eli some supplies, energy rations, fuel cells, and minor gadgets. Eli accepted only what he truly needed, politely declining the rest. "I have my gift," he said, holding the card close. "That is enough." He continued his journey, passing through ion storms that crackled with electricity. The ship's systems sputtered under the onslaught, lights flickering and engines whining. Eli quickly analyzed the situation, adjusting the ship's shields and rerouting power from non-essential systems. Sparks flew, but the ship endured. The storm taught him patience and focus. Sometimes, rushing would only make things worse. During one quiet moment between challenges, Eli sat in the cockpit and drew on the card again. He added stars and distant planets, imagining what the Emperor's eyes might see as he looked at them. Each line and color carried his feelings: gratitude, wonder, and hope. The card was no longer just a drawing. It had become a diary of his journey, a record of courage, creativity, and persistence. As Eli approached the outskirts of the central planet, he noticed something unusual: a band of space pirates moving swiftly through the sector. They were notorious for attacking lone travelers, taking whatever they could steal, and leaving wreckage behind. Eli's small ship was an easy target. He had to act quickly. Remembering the lessons he had learned from previous obstacles, Eli devised a plan. Using the ship's reflection panels and some clever maneuvers, he created the illusion of multiple ships. The pirates, confused by the images, hesitated. Then Eli used the ship's remaining speed boosters to slip past them, weaving through asteroids to disappear from sight. His heart raced, but relief washed over him. He had survived once again through ingenuity and determination. Finally, after weeks of travel, Eli reached the planet's orbit. From his small cockpit, he could see the Emperor's citadel, floating above the clouds like a fortress of gold and crystal. The palace stretched farther than the eye could see, its towers shimmering with light, bridges connecting platforms suspended in the air. Ships of all sizes circled the citadel, each carrying treasures from distant civilizations. Eli's tiny ship looked insignificant next to freighters and luxurious crafts, yet he reminded himself that size and wealth were not what mattered. He had something they did not: heart. And the Emperor, Eli hoped, would see it. The landing was tense. Guards, massive and intimidating, examined each arriving ship. Eli's small craft slipped through unnoticed, which suited him perfectly. He took a deep breath as he stepped out onto the floating platform. The air was filled with sounds of anticipation, whispers of fear, and awe from all who had gathered. Before him, other travelers carried treasures of immense value: glowing orbs, rare metals mined from dying stars, machines capable of feats humans had only dreamed of. Each display was meant to impress, to overwhelm, to show worth. Eli, clutching his small hand-drawn card, felt dwarfed by the grandeur, but he held his head high. He walked among the grand courtyards, passing creatures from every corner of the galaxy. Some eyes were curious, some dismissive, some mocking. Many laughed at the sight of a tiny human holding only paper and pencils. "What does he expect to do with that?" one alien whispered. Eli ignored them. He reminded himself of everything he had overcome: the meteor showers, the rogue asteroids, the pirates, the storms. Each obstacle had taught him resilience. Each challenge had strengthened his belief that the simplest gestures often carry the greatest meaning. At night, while the other travelers rested in luxurious quarters, Eli found a quiet corner and redrew some of the scenes on his card. He added more stars, the distant mountains of his home planet, and even the small creatures that had shared his journeys along the way. Each line and color reflected his journey and his gratitude. Eli knew he could not compete with wealth or technology, yet he hoped that the Dragon Emperor would notice something deeper, something no machine, no jewel, no invention could replicate: the sincerity of the human heart. He fell asleep that night with the card clutched close, dreaming of the Emperor's eyes, the vast citadel, and the moment when his small gesture might finally be seen. He knew that whatever happened tomorrow, he had already accomplished something important. He had journeyed farther than most, risked more than most, and created something entirely his own. And so, as the stars wheeled across the night sky, Eli prepared for the day he would finally meet the Dragon Emperor, a meeting that could change not just his life, but the way the galaxy saw humans forever. The grand gates of the Dragon Emperor's citadel swung open with a sound that echoed like rolling thunder. Eli stepped forward cautiously, his small frame dwarfed by the immense architecture around him. Towers of gold and crystal shimmered in the light of distant suns, connected by bridges that seemed to float in the air. Waterfalls of luminescent mist cascaded from platforms above, creating a magical haze that refracted the sunlight. All around him, travelers and emissaries from every corner of the galaxy moved through the court. Some carried chests of rare gems, others brought devices of advanced technology, and some bore creatures of strange beauty and rarity. The air hummed with anticipation, whispers of hope and murmurs of fear. Every being here hoped to catch the Emperor's attention, though few truly believed they could. Eli clutched his hand-drawn card tightly in his small hands. He felt nervous, almost frozen in awe at the sheer grandeur and the powerful presence that seemed to radiate from the citadel itself. This was the first time he had been so close to the Emperor. The stories he had heard, of the dragon's immense size, shimmering scales, and piercing gaze, did not prepare him for the reality. The Emperor himself was perched atop a massive platform, suspended above the crowd on a throne carved from crystal and gold. His wings, vast and glittering, stretched wide, catching the light in colors no human had ever seen before. His eyes, deep and golden, scanned the crowd with calm but piercing focus. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like a storm, making the ground tremble ever so slightly. One by one, the emissaries presented their gifts. The first was a massive gem glowing with the energy of a dying star. The Emperor sniffed the air around it, flicked his tail, and declared it unworthy. The gem dissolved in a burst of harmless sparks, leaving the crowd silent. Next came a device capable of creating artificial weather. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, and with a wave of his claw, the machine disassembled itself in mid-air. The crowd murmured. The gifts continued. Metallic sculptures, rare plants, even creatures from distant planets. Each gift was judged with the same result: rejection. The Emperor had never been impressed by wealth, power, or rarity. Eli watched each presentation with growing anxiety. Many humans and aliens were trying to impress him with grand gestures, and all failed. Would his simple card be laughed at? Would the Emperor even look at it? Yet he reminded himself of everything he had learned on his journey: the courage to face danger, the patience to navigate storms, and the heart to act with sincerity. When it was finally his turn, the crowd seemed to lean back, almost in disbelief. A tiny human boy approached the Emperor, holding only a folded piece of paper. Many laughed quietly, whispering among themselves. "What does he expect?" one alien hissed. "A dragon does not care for scribbles." Eli felt his stomach twist, but he took a deep breath. He stepped forward, keeping his eyes lowered respectfully. He handed the card to the Emperor with both hands, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty," he said softly, his voice trembling. I wanted to say thank you for watching over the galaxies, for keeping balance, for everything you do. I have no jewels, no machines, no rare gifts, only this, a simple drawing from my heart." The Emperor's gaze fell on the card. His golden eyes studied it carefully. He tilted his head, examining each line, each color. He smelled the paper, sensing the effort and sincerity embedded within it. For the first time in centuries, he did not dismiss a gift outright. A hush fell over the court. Even the whispers stopped as all eyes turned to the Emperor. No one had ever seen him pause like this. His tail, which usually flicked in judgment, remained still. His wings, powerful and imposing, did not move. Eli's hands shook slightly, but he held the card steady. He could feel the weight of expectation from everyone around him, yet he focused only on the dragon before him. This moment, he realized, was not about wealth, fear, or glory. It was about honesty, courage, and the human heart. The Emperor leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "Why do you offer this?" he asked, his voice low but resonant, carrying across the entire court. "You are small, weak by my standards. You have nothing that holds value in the galaxy. Yet you risk much to bring me this?" Eli swallowed hard. "I have nothing else to give, Your Majesty," he said honestly. "But I wanted you to know that someone out there appreciates what you do. I wanted to say thank you. Not with treasures, but with my heart." The Emperor's gaze lingered on Eli, and something in the boy's sincerity struck a chord deep within him. He had received countless gifts of power, wealth, and beauty over the centuries, but none had ever conveyed true emotion. No machine, no gem, no rare creature had ever said, "I see you. I appreciate you. I thank you." Slowly, the Emperor reached forward, his massive claw hovering above the card. The crowd held its breath. Even the wind seemed to pause in anticipation. With deliberate care, the Emperor took the card, lifting it closer to his eyes. He inhaled the faint scent of the paper, studied the colors, and traced the lines with a single immense claw. Then something unexpected happened. The Emperor nodded slightly, not dismissively, not angrily, but with acknowledgement. "You have something that no wealth can buy," he said in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. "You have sincerity, courage, and a heart that beats with honesty. This is remarkable." Gasps and murmurs filled the court. The crowd could hardly believe what they were witnessing. The Dragon Emperor, known for rejecting every gift without exception, had finally accepted one. And it was from a tiny human, carrying only paper and colored pencils. Eli's heart leapt. He could hardly believe it himself. After everything, the journey, the storms, the pirates, the long, lonely nights, his small gesture had been recognized. He felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of accomplishment and hope he had never known before. The Emperor lowered his massive head, bringing it closer to Eli. "Tell me, Humyn," he said, "why do you risk so much to express gratitude? Others bring wealth and power. You bring only honesty." Eli looked up, meeting the golden eyes. "Because I believe that even the smallest gesture can matter," he said simply. "Even a human can reach a being like you, if the gesture is true." The Emperor considered this. His gaze swept over the court, observing the other travelers who had brought extravagant gifts. None of their treasures had spoken like this boy's card had. None had carried the honesty, patience, and effort that Eli's gift contained. The Emperor realized, perhaps for the first time, that the heart could surpass power, wealth, and knowledge. He lifted the card higher, holding it against the light. The colors glowed softly, revealing the care and thought put into each stroke. "You have taught me something today," the Emperor said. "Even I, who has lived for countless ages, can learn from the smallest among us." The crowd erupted into whispers, some of admiration, some of disbelief. For the first time, humans were seen not as weak, not as insignificant, but as beings capable of profound understanding and courage. Eli's bravery and sincerity had earned recognition in a way that no weapon, treasure, or machine ever could. The Emperor lowered his head again, this time gently. "You, Humyn, have given me a gift worthy of remembrance," he said. "You have risked life and limb, traveled across dangers, and acted with a pure heart. For this, I accept your gift." Eli's legs trembled, but he bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said softly. "I am honored." The Emperor's eyes softened, golden light reflecting off his scales. "Rise, Humyn. You have shown the galaxy that true value lies not in wealth, not in machines, not in rare treasures, but in courage, honesty, and the heart. This lesson is one the universe will remember." With that, the Emperor stepped back, wings stretching majestically, and let Eli stand in the light of acknowledgement. The boy's journey, fraught with danger and challenge, had culminated in a single quiet triumph, the recognition that human ingenuity, kindness, and sincerity could touch even the mightiest being in existence. As Eli looked around the court, he saw the expressions of amazement on the faces of the other travelers. Some were humbled, some were inspired, and some could hardly believe that a human had achieved what they could not. The Dragon Emperor, ancient and wise, had learned something new, and humans had begun to claim their place among the great forces of the galaxy. Eli felt a swell of pride and hope. His journey was far from over, but for the first time, he understood that even the smallest among humans could leave a mark on the universe. The Dragon Emperor had not only accepted his gift, but had seen the truth behind it, the courage, sincerity, and heart of humanity. And for Eli, that acknowledgement was worth more than any treasure, any jewel, or any invention could ever be. The Dragon Emperor's court had quieted. The golden eyes of the mighty dragon followed Eli as he stood trembling, clutching the hand-drawn card that had somehow moved the most powerful being in the galaxy. The other travelers, still shocked by the Emperor's acceptance of a simple human gift, murmured among themselves, their treasures now meaningless in comparison to a small boy's courage and sincerity. Eli's heart pounded. He could hardly believe what had just happened. All his hardships, all the dangers he had faced during his long journey, meteor showers, pirates, ion storms, had led him to this moment. And the Dragon Emperor, for the first time, had truly seen him. The Emperor's massive head lowered, the weight of his attention pressing gently upon the boy. His voice, deep and resonant, echoed across the courtyard. "Humyn, tell me why you chose this gift. Why risk so much to present only a drawing?" Eli swallowed hard. He had rehearsed these words many times during his journey, but standing before the Emperor, he realized that no preparation could match the reality of the moment. "Your Majesty," he began softly, "I wanted you to know that someone appreciates what you do. You protect the balance of the galaxies. You make sure worlds survive, civilizations thrive, and life continues. I have no jewels, no rare metals, no machines. I only have this card and my heart. That is why I offer it to you." The Emperor's gaze softened, golden light reflecting off his scales. "You speak with honesty, sincerity, and courage," he said. "These are qualities I have long overlooked, focusing instead on power, wealth, and skill. You remind me that true value lies not in what can be taken, but in what is given freely." Eli felt a warmth spread through him. No one had ever spoken to him like this, with understanding and respect. He realized that the Emperor's acceptance of his gift was not only recognition, but also a lesson. Sometimes, even the smallest gestures could carry the greatest power. For a moment, the Emperor remained silent, as if considering something beyond the understanding of anyone present. Then he spoke again. "I have ruled for countless centuries. I have witnessed civilizations rise and fall. I have seen warriors, inventors, and kings attempt to impress me with wealth, skill, and rare treasures. All have failed. But you, Humyn, have succeeded where they could not. Not because of what you brought, but because of who you are." Eli could hardly believe his ears. He had come so far, faced so much, and now the Dragon Emperor himself was speaking words of recognition and respect. The boy's journey, which had begun with a simple act of courage and hope, had led to a moment that could change the way humans were seen across the galaxy. The Emperor continued, "Humyn, I wish to test the depth of your understanding, the strength of your heart. You have shown bravery by journeying here and offering your gift, but the true measure of worth lies not in one moment, but in choices made when faced with challenges." Before Eli could respond, the Emperor extended one massive wing and gestured toward a platform suspended in midair. It was a floating arena, wide enough to hold the largest ships, and shimmering with a soft golden light. "Step onto this platform," the Emperor commanded. "There you will face trials designed not to break your body, but to test your courage, patience, and ingenuity. Your journey is not yet complete." Eli swallowed hard. His legs trembled, but he knew he could not refuse. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the platform, feeling it vibrate under his small weight. The Emperor's eyes followed every movement, observing with a wisdom that was both intimidating and reassuring. The first trial appeared as a series of shifting obstacles. Floating rocks, energy barriers, and narrow pathways formed a labyrinth in midair. Eli realized quickly that this trial was not about strength or weapons. It required thought, planning, and careful observation. He studied the patterns, noticing the timing of the barriers and the stability of the floating rocks. Using quick thinking and steady hands, Eli navigated the labyrinth. He stepped carefully, adjusted his balance, and avoided the hazards. At one point, a large energy barrier swung toward him, and he ducked just in time, rolling safely onto a stable platform. The Emperor's golden eyes followed each move, unblinking, as if calculating the boy's potential. Once Eli passed the labyrinth, the next trial began, a series of riddles and puzzles projected into the air by shimmering lights. Each puzzle required logic, observation, and imagination. Some were mathematical, some spatial, and some relied on pattern recognition. Eli's mind worked quickly, recalling lessons from his life on the mining planet, from his encounters with traders, and from his long journey through the stars. He solved each puzzle carefully, step by step, never rushing. He realized that patience and focus were just as important as intelligence. The Emperor observed silently, nodding slightly at the boy's progress. It was clear that this trial was about more than just solving puzzles. It was about understanding, persistence, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. The final trial appeared as a challenge of trust. A narrow bridge, glowing with energy, stretched across a void. Below, the abyss shimmered with a swirling vortex of light and color, seemingly endless. Eli could feel his heart pounding. One wrong step could mean disaster. He took a deep breath, remembering his journey. Meteor showers, pirates, ion storms, and the countless small victories along the way. Step by step, he crossed the bridge, focusing on each movement, trusting his instincts, and keeping his mind calm. Halfway across, a section of the bridge flickered and vanished, testing his ability to adapt. Eli paused, analyzed the situation, and leapt forward just in time, landing safely on the other side. The Emperor's golden eyes glimmered with approval. When Eli reached the end of the trials, he turned to see the Emperor lowering his massive head to meet him. "You have passed," the Emperor said, his voice echoing like rolling thunder. "Not because of strength or skill alone, but because of your heart, your courage, and your ingenuity. You have proven that humans, though small and seemingly weak, possess qualities that surpass even the greatest power." Eli felt a surge of pride and relief. Every challenge, every danger, every step of his journey had led to this moment. He realized that his journey had taught him more than he had imagined. The value of patience, the strength of courage, and the power of sincerity. The Emperor extended one massive claw, not in threat, but in acknowledgement. "You have reminded me that even the smallest gesture, when given with honesty and courage, can carry the greatest meaning. You, Humyn, have done what no other being has achieved in countless ages." The Emperor then spoke to the crowd, his voice resonating across the courtyard. "Witness this, all who have traveled far and wide, a human, small and seemingly fragile, has achieved recognition where others have failed. Let this be a lesson. True power lies not in wealth, technology, or strength, but in courage, ingenuity, and heart." The crowd erupted in whispers of awe and admiration. Humans who had been dismissed as weak or insignificant now held their heads high, inspired by Eli's courage and sincerity. They realized that human ingenuity, creativity, and heart could influence even the mightiest beings in the galaxy. Eli, exhausted but elated, knelt before the Emperor. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I am grateful for your recognition and for allowing me to prove myself. I will carry the lessons of this day with me forever." The Emperor's golden eyes glimmered with what could almost be called warmth. "Rise, Humyn. Your journey is far from over. But you have proven that humans have a place among the great forces of the galaxy. I shall remember this day, and I shall watch with interest as humanity continues to grow, create, and inspire." As the Emperor lifted his head and spread his wings, a soft golden light bathed Eli. The boy felt a sense of accomplishment and hope like nothing he had ever known. He had faced storms, pirates, and dangers beyond imagining. He had navigated trials of mind and heart, and he had done it all with sincerity, courage, and ingenuity. Eli realized that this was more than personal victory. It was a sign of the potential of all humans. If one small, orphaned boy could achieve recognition from the mightiest being in the galaxy, then perhaps humanity itself could reach heights no one had imagined. The Dragon Emperor watched him for a long moment, then spoke once more. "Your gift, your courage, and your heart have proven that even the smallest beings can shape the course of the universe. You have earned my respect, Humyn, and you shall be remembered." Eli bowed deeply, feeling the weight of both gratitude and pride. His journey had transformed him, and in doing so, it had also changed the perception of humans across the galaxy. The Emperor's acknowledgement was not just a reward. It was a promise of trust, of possibility, and of hope. As Eli stepped back from the platform, he held the hand-drawn card close, knowing that its value had transcended paper and color. It had become a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and the power of a sincere heart. And in that moment, Eli understood something profound. Sometimes, the simplest gesture carries the greatest power. Eli stepped off the platform, the hand-drawn card still clutched in his hands. The Dragon Emperor's golden eyes followed him as he moved through the grand courtyard. Every traveler and emissary who had come to impress the Emperor now looked at him with awe, whispering among themselves. The small human boy who had dared to present a simple gift had not only succeeded, but had done what no one else could. The Emperor's voice rumbled across the courtyard, deep and powerful, yet filled with meaning. "Eli, Humyn, you have shown courage, sincerity, and ingenuity. You have proven that even the smallest among humans can make a mark in this universe. I offer you my acknowledgement, my trust, and a token of protection." From beneath the folds of his massive wings, the Emperor produced a small amulet, unlike any Eli had ever seen. It glowed with a soft, golden light and pulsed faintly, as if alive. "This is a dragon amulet," the Emperor explained. "It will protect you from harm and guide your path. Wear it not as a reward, but as a reminder of what humans can achieve when they act with heart." Eli felt a mixture of astonishment and gratitude. He reached out carefully, taking the amulet in his hands. Its warmth spread through him, filling him with a sense of strength and confidence. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said quietly, bowing deeply. "I will treasure it always." The Emperor inclined his massive head, a gesture of approval and recognition. "Go now, Humyn. Return to your world, share your story, inspire your people. Let this day be remembered as a turning point, not only for you, but for all humanity." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon him. His journey had begun as a small act of courage, a simple attempt to show gratitude. Now it carried a larger purpose, to remind humans that their hearts, their courage, and their ingenuity were powerful forces in the galaxy. As Eli prepared to depart, the other travelers approached him cautiously. Some bowed, some offered congratulations, and some simply stared in wonder. A human envoy stepped forward, shaking his hand. "You've shown us all what humans are truly capable of," he said. "Your bravery and sincerity will be remembered." Eli smiled faintly, clutching the amulet. "I only did what felt right," he said softly. "If humans act with courage and heart, I believe we can achieve great things." With that, he returned to his small ship, the amulet glowing softly against his chest. As he lifted off from the Emperor's citadel, He looked back at the immense fortress, shimmering in the light of distant stars. The Dragon Emperor's golden eyes watched him, and Eli felt a quiet connection, an understanding that their worlds, though vastly different, had touched in a way that would endure for generations. The journey back to his home planet was smoother than the one that had brought him here. Eli navigated through asteroid fields and ion storms with confidence, guided by the lessons he had learned. The amulet pulsed faintly, offering subtle guidance and protection. It was more than a magical object. It was a symbol of the bond between humans and one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. When Eli finally landed on his home planet, he was greeted by the familiar landscape of mountains, forests, and settlements he had known as a child. Yet everything seemed different now. The hardships he had endured, the challenges he had faced, and the recognition he had earned had changed him. He was no longer just a small orphan. He was a symbol of hope, courage, and human potential. Word of Eli's journey spread quickly. Travelers, traders, and settlers shared the story of the boy who had braved the dangers of space to offer a hand-drawn card to the Dragon Emperor. Humans who had once been dismissed as weak or insignificant now held their heads high, inspired by Eli's courage and sincerity. Children drew their own cards and gifts, hoping to emulate his bravery. Adults found renewed pride in their work and creativity, realizing that even the simplest acts could carry great meaning. Eli returned to his small home, placing the dragon amulet on a simple shelf above his bed. It glowed faintly, casting a soft golden light across the room. He continued to draw, filling pages with stars, planets, and dragons, capturing his journey and the lessons he had learned. Each drawing carried the essence of courage, patience, and heart, the qualities that had allowed him to touch the Dragon Emperor. One evening, Eli looked out at the stars, thinking of the Emperor's words. He realized that the journey was not only about recognition, but also about inspiring others. Humanity had proven that it could reach beyond fear, beyond weakness, and beyond the ordinary. With courage and heart, even the smallest individuals could influence the course of the galaxy. The Dragon Emperor, observing from afar, began to take a quiet interest in humanity. He sent subtle guidance and protection to their worlds, intrigued by the resilience, creativity, and courage of humans. Though he remained a powerful and mysterious presence, he now viewed humans with a mix of respect and curiosity. Over time, humans began to explore new worlds, inspired by Eli's journey and the recognition he had earned. They worked together, combining ingenuity with courage, creativity with persistence. Trade, exploration, and alliances flourished. And in the quiet moments of space, among stars and distant planets, humans would remember the story of the orphaned boy who had offered a hand-drawn card to the Dragon Emperor and changed the way their species was seen forever. Eli, now a young man, often visited the highest peaks of his planet, gazing at the stars. He carried the amulet with him always, a reminder of the journey, the challenges, and the lessons learned. He taught other humans to act with courage and heart, to value sincerity and creativity above mere wealth or power. The simple gesture of a hand-drawn card had grown into something far greater, a symbol of hope, a testament to human ingenuity, and a reminder that even the smallest among us could make a lasting impact on the universe. In time, Eli's story became legend. Parents told it to their children. Educators used it as an example of courage and sincerity, and travelers across the stars spoke of it with admiration. Humanity, once considered small and fragile, was now recognized as a species capable of great courage, creativity, and heart. And in the distance, somewhere high above the clouds and stars, the Dragon Emperor watched. He did not intervene often, but he observed, learned, and sometimes smiled at the resilience of humans. Eli's card, small and simple, had reminded even the oldest and most powerful being in the galaxy of the strength of the human spirit. Eli often drew new cards, imagining the Emperor receiving them. Each one was a promise to act with courage, to create with heart, and to face the universe with determination. His journey had begun with a single act of gratitude, and it had grown into a life dedicated to inspiring others. The galaxy would never forget the story of Eli, the human orphan who gave the Dragon Emperor a simple hand-drawn card. It was a story of courage, ingenuity, and heart. A story proving that humans, though small, could achieve greatness in ways no one had imagined. And as the stars twinkled above, Eli smiled, holding the glowing amulet close to his chest. The journey had changed him, but it had also changed the universe. The Dragon Emperor had accepted not just a gift, but a human heart, and in doing so had opened the door to a new era of respect, understanding, and hope for humanity. The boy who had once wandered alone among the ruins of a mining planet had grown into a symbol of possibility, showing the galaxy that courage, creativity, and a sincere heart could move even the mightiest of beings. Humanity had learned, at last, that their greatest power was not in weapons, machines, or wealth, but in their spirit, and that spirit had been recognized by the Dragon Emperor himself. Eli looked to the horizon, the setting suns casting long shadows across the mountains. He knew that new adventures awaited, new challenges to face, and new hearts to inspire. But no matter what the future held, he carried with him the knowledge that a small gesture, made with sincerity, could change everything. And so, with a heart full of hope, courage, and gratitude, Eli took the first step toward the next chapter of his life, ready to continue inspiring humanity and shaping the galaxy with nothing more than honesty, heart, and imagination.